Ladies in Lavender is it's a film about really emotions and feelings that mainstream cinema would have us believe are really only experienced by 15 to 21-year-olds. In this case, it's about two ladies in their 60s, in the autumn of their life.
It's like a fairy tale. It's a strand of something. It's a strand of a lot of emotions twisted up, and then it just disappears again.
I've written 2 or 3 things before, but none to my satisfaction. And I was sitting on a film set in Budapest, and I had some downtime, and I was sat on the set, which was dressed with about 200 prop books. I took one of these books down, and it was this delicate old volume of short stories by a writer I'd never heard of called William J. Locke. And one of these stories was called Ladies in Lavender, about these 2 spinster sisters living on their own down in Cornwall. And into their lives comes a young man and disrupts this hitherto harmonious existence that they've had, and provokes and stirs up emotions that in one of the sisters has lain dormant for years, in the other have not been stirred up at all.
When Andrea's able to walk, he's going to need some clothes.
Yes, I know.
I thought I'd use some of the money Aunt Elizabeth left me to get him a new outfit.
Why not use our joint account?
Well, it's...
Well, we're both responsible for him. And I was the one who saw him first.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
About draft 3, I thought, time I went and asked Judie Dench about this. So she and Maggie were both appearing in a play in London. And I went to Judie first and asked her. And she said yes. And then I went to Maggie and she said, is Jude going to do it? And I said, I think so. She said, all right, well, I'm doing it then. And it was as simple as that.
He's a very good actor, and he wanted to make a film and had the chance to make a film. I said yes, because I'm notorious for not reading scripts, which I don't. I don't read scripts. It's entirely to do with who's asked me, and if they think I can do it, and who's going to be in it. It's only to do with that. What a chance. And with my old friend Max, who between us have 50 years, over 50 years experience. And so we've been friends since 1958.
Jude and I have a sort of shorthand together. We understand each other and we sort of know which way they're going to go. And I think it's just a great ease.
Knowing Maggie, of course, we had lots of shortcuts because she and I know each other so well. So the sisterly thing, you know, you don't have to work for that. If you're friends, that will show anyway, you know.
And I just had Maggie Smith and Judie Dench in mind from the first time that I read it, despite the fact that they are considerably older than the ladies in William J. Locke's story, who are in their 40s. Maggie and Judie, and they make no secret of this, why should they, are 70 now. But I personally think that the age of these characters is immaterial.
You were happy with Peter, weren't you? And it wasn't all pain.
Oh, no. But,
I mean, before he was killed, you...
Ursula, Andrea's a boy.
Isn't I'm an old woman? Silly and ridiculous and foolish.
Naive.
Well, how could I be anything else? It's not fair.
No. No, it isn't. I know you hear this forever, but there just aren't that many parts for our age group. There just aren't. So this was a wonderful chance, and it was sort of it was a touching, strange little story.
There is a quality to the light in Cornwall. It's shimmering, and it's very difficult to imitate that, to emulate it anywhere else. And we could have shot it in other places, but I don't think as successfully and anybody who knows Cornwall would have known that it wasn't shot in Cornwall. I just understand what that place feels like and what it looks like and the way people behave there.
It was very close to Charlie too. I think he was born in Plymouth, so he was very close to Cornwall. Maybe that attracted him too. It is a beautiful place. They have their own language, sort of a Gaelic-y thing. Impenetrable, I thought. I looked at it, but I couldn't get anywhere with it. So, but it is very cut off from the rest of the country, and they always want to be on their own.
We used to get out to Cornwall for a month. My father was a doctor in York. We used to get on the train, which was all blacked out, and we used to go down to Cornwall for a month. And we used to go across the cliffs to this house in Talland, and we used to stay there for this month and never wear our shoes again for a month. And there's a wonderful coastal walk, brilliant, breathtaking, that you can do. And you can walk for miles just along the coastline. And then climb down to bays and swim if you're brave. Cornwall has always been a very important place in my family. And I happened to say this during the film, and people who now own Talland got in touch. It's very nice.
So a story that involves an alien and one that's speaking German in a time when, in most people's living memory, there was a terrible war with Germany, and by all accounts there's likely to be another one very soon. They're going to view this character with even more suspicion than they would if he was just an outsider coming from another part of England.
How's your castaway getting along then, Doctor?
Pretty bashed about a bit, actually, Jan. God knows where he came from. Bugger doesn't speak a word of English.
Which was another element in the story that I created that is not in William J. Locke's story, because I needed to put in all sorts of other things. I was kind of in danger of being hoisted by my own petard to set it in a very particular time, because then you have to answer certain questions, which in a time that people are not too aware of and is not too vividly described in the story, you just accept certain things. But I tried to retain as many of those elements as I possibly could.
I just did like the idea of it. It seemed so odd, these two women, and it's a very fragile story, and it just, you know, there aren't any car chases, there aren't any huge happenings in it, but I think it's sort of, I think it's interesting that, and it is not always shown that women go on having feelings, well, indeed men, but you go on, whatever age you are. It doesn't stop you loving, it doesn't stop you falling in love, however odd it may be. Who's to know?
I love ambiguity anyway, in film, or in a play or in a story. I love things that make me want to ask questions. It doesn't bother me if I don't always get a satisfactory answer. The fact that it actually made me question something.
Give me.
Practically, I needed to be able to pre-record pieces for Daniel Bruhl to mime to on the set. I could give him no more than a month to learn to mime an instrument he'd never touched before. He didn't know one end of a violin from the other. And if you remember Shine, Geoffrey Rush, I gather, had about 6 months to prepare his piano playing for that. Daniel had just over a month. And he got it to such a point that I could shoot him from any angle I wanted to. I didn't have to bring in a double with somebody else's fingers. He was there. He was absolutely fantastic.
He was adorable. And he worked harder than anybody I've ever known on a film. Because every single minute he wasn't on the screen, he was learning the bowing for the violin. And at the end, when, you know, at the concert at the end, when he played, the real orchestra all applauded him at the end. Now, they were applauding somebody, you know, who wasn't playing. And he was fantastic. He's a clever boy. He's really clever. And very easy to fall in love with. Oh, wonderful.
He is the prince who would not come. The character played by Natasha McElhone, Olga, is the wicked fairy who she is described as by Ursula in the piece. She says, you know, she's like the wicked witch in a fairy tale. It's great, and it was important to have somebody as beautiful as Natasha McElhone because that makes her much more dangerous.
I know it's not very Christian of me, but I dislike that woman intensely.
There is a point in Locke's story where Ursula and Andrea are walking along the beach and they sit down and he says that he rests his head in her lap. One of the guys on the crew, actually I think it was, maybe it's the focus puller, said, "You're going to do that, Charlie?" He said, "A bit much, isn't it? Have him putting his head in her lap, you know." As in Hamlet, did he mean country matters? And I said, "No, I don't think it's too much at all." And the way Judie plays it, I just think is unbelievable, you know. This head there, and this hair, and what she does with her hand, and that hand that goes to here because her heart is beating, absolutely fit to burst, you know. Wonderful, magical moments as far as I'm concerned. In a fairy tale, you have to believe it. There are questions that can and should remain unanswered. You have to have faith. Once upon a time.